What is going on, everybody? I want to share with you in a video the beauty, the equilibrium, the balance, the perfection of chess. If you fuck up, you fuck up. But if you don't, if there's a will, there's usually a way to find a balance. And this is just beautiful. This is an awesome example of it. E4, E5, knight F3, D6 marks the Philidor defense. We're going to push D4. Black's going to bring their first knight to D7, and we're going to bring our bishop to C4. Black is going to bring their other knight to F6, and that is a slight mistake, but it allows us to see something very beautiful and special. We're going to capture the E5 pawn with our D4 pawn, and Black's going to capture the E5 pawn with the knight. Balance has been achieved. Pawn captured, pawn recaptured. We're going to go ahead and take out the knight, and Black's going to go ahead and recapture the knight. Equilibrium has been reached again. We're not going to go ahead and capture the queen, because then the king would be able to, capture the queen, and we would capture the pawn, and the knight would capture the pawn. Equilibrium would be achieved. No, no, no. We have something much better. The bishop can capture the F7 pawn, checking the king. Now, you would figure that you can't capture the bishop, because if you did, the queen would fall. That's right. But then the bishop can come out to B4, checking the king. Now, our queen's hanging and being attacked by the rook in the corner. So what we can do is bring it back to D2, blocking the check. And Black, to recover their queen, has to retake. Now, if you notice, the pawn on E4 is hanging, but we can recapture with our knight that protects that E4 pawn, so it can't be captured. Equilibrium has been reached. All minor pieces have been recovered, but now Black is a pawn down. But you can think of it, regardless of what the analysis says, Black does have some benefits. The king is now on the 7th row, which is going to save them a tempo in the endgame. And as well, because the knight captured the bishop to protect the pawn, the dark squared bishop is now blocked in. If it wasn't blocked in and it was captured with a normal piece so the knight could develop to its natural square and not hinder the bishop's development, then the knight would be able to recapture the pawn and it would be truly even. Now we're going to back up and pretend that the king didn't capture the bishop. Pretend it didn't. We're going to march forward and just get out of check on E7. The queen is now going to capture the queen, and the king will recapture the king. And now the black knight is attacking the E4 pawn. More beauty at hand here. There's 3 ways to protect the E4 pawn. There's F3, there's knight C3, and knight D2. But the move castle also works. If you dig deep enough, you can see. Once the knight captures the pawn, the rook can just move over to E1, attacking the knight. Now, if the knight backs up, you get the pawn back. If the knight backed up to D6, the bishop is being attacked, so we have to save that. We can bring it back to B3, and now black has to save the pawn on E5. It does not have a single piece it can bring in to save that pawn, and that is because the 2 squares the knight should be able to jump to protect it are covered by the bishop. Yin and yang. It's fucking beautiful. But we're not done. instead of running with the knight when you get attacked, you can back it up with bringing your bishop to f5. And if they attack you, you can back it up to d6, and now you're attacking their bishop. If they take your pawn, you can take their pawn. And yes, I understand that you can take their bishop and they would take yours, all even Steven stuff, but then you'd have to move the knight again because there's nothing to back it up. So when you grab their pawn, they can move their knight to a3, hitting your bishop, and you want to bring your bishop back to g6 now. They'll capture you, you'll recapture them. I just find it so beautiful. There's compliments to every move, almost. It's like two people practicing kung fu in the dark. You know what I'm saying? For every yin, there's a yang. For every tails, there's a heads. For every heads, there's a tails. I just wanted to share that with you, and I appreciate you. See you on the next video.